I'm really more of a zombie at this point. It's the bright color. I'm a spring summer.
Just tell me what I'm there for you.
Where was Cricket Power?
I'm like a living.
Are you ready? 3, 2. All right, welcome, Select Committee on Capital Finance and Investments. We are starting our conversation here on March 7th at 5:30 p.m. when we do our best work. The day before session will be coming to an end to discuss what we'll be doing over the summer. We are doing interim topics, and the first item on our agenda is the selection of a new House chairman.
Can we set that back? We don't have enough House members here to.
We will set that back, Mr. Resigned Chairman. We will do so. It's your pleasure.
Yeah, there's not enough House members.
We'll wait for, I think, Representative Walters to come, and do we have?
Larson.
And Representative Larson to arrive. So with that, we'll go ahead and look through what has been provided to us on our summary of interim topics. It looks like there were 4 submissions related to local government authority to invest in equities. Senator Guru, do you want to speak to any of these? Looks like you're number 3. We'll go back to. Pivot to Representative Obermuller, who put in number 1, and we'll alert Senator Guru to number 3.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This topic is a carryover from last year. We were going to look at it in the spring, then for reasons outside of our control, it was set back, and we looked at it in November. And then at the November meeting, we made the commitment then that we would take a look at this issue in the interim, and I think maybe that we have possibly people in the audience that want to speak to this. Jeremiah, do you want to come up and talk about it?
Welcome, Mr. Freeman.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, members of the committee. I'm Jeremiah Riemann here on behalf of the Wyoming County Commissioners Association. I appreciate you setting it back last spring. I had a little life change, and it was important that I be elsewhere. This is something that we remain interested in. We're certainly interested in the outcome of Senate File 9D, but we are also interested in it looking at what other avenues there might be for counties or other local governments to pool funds outside of that state-managed mechanism, perhaps with some sort of a check by the state treasurer's office. I don't think we're opposed to that, but we want to take a deep dive with you on this particular issue and would certainly bring whatever resources we can to that conversation. Want to make sure that we pursue this in the most appropriate way, ensuring that we control and monitor any of those deposits and investments that might happen in some sort of pool. So with that, Madam Chairwoman, I know it's late. I don't want to take up too much time, but I'm happy to answer questions. Would appreciate your consideration of the topic.
Any questions for Mr. Riemann? Hey, thank you so much. Senator Gru, what's the status of Senate File 60 or 90?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Status on 90. We voted on concurrence today, and when we did, let me go back. We passed that bill out of the Senate. We had put on, and through amendment, we put on a ESG policy statement on that bill, which when it got over to the House, we had testimony from the Treasurer's Office. We had testimony from the first floor, and the Appropriations Committee in the House stripped that amendment out. We sent it today for concurrence with the Senate. It passed 20-10, but we had one member absent and did not realize when we took that vote that we needed a 2/3 vote since that was the last action on that bill. And so, and the body was not informed that it needed to be a 2/3 vote. So we withdrew it and we're going to vote again tomorrow. And so what's either going to happen is we're going to go to conference over that amendment, or we're going to get a concurrence vote. We'll just have to see how that vote goes out. But I know the folks from the local folks are very, very appreciative. WHAM and a lot of local entities are very appreciative of Senate File 90 if it does pass. But what they wanted to talk about is what's the next step? Or what say us about the next step? Should it involve the treasurer? Can they go in other directions? Some of the discussion, which was more on the House side from what I would recall than it was on the Senate side, was what about the private sector? Where's their role in this, or is there one? And that's something that they'd like us to weigh in on. And so I think that's the genesis for this topic, and get the input from the treasurer's office, get the input from this body, and kind of, say, where do we go from here? That's what the genesis of that discussion is about.
All right. Mr. Fleming, I see that you're online with us. Do you have any comments about this topic that you'd like to contribute?
Yes, Ms. Chairwoman, it's Patrick Fleming, CIO from the Treasurer's Office. Yeah, I would rather just wait and concur with the Treasurer and have conversation on it, but it is something that we think is very important, but I'd rather have a conversation later on when we hear what happens.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fleming. And then we have number 4. I mean, obviously, these are all the same topics, and we'll likely move these into an interim since we've got so many submissions from members of the committee. Senator Hicks, though, I think provided the most succinct and comprehensive statement of this issue. I think we should adopt that one if we choose to move this forward. So a message to staff should go in the letter, probably. Any further discussion from Senator Hicks?
Madam Chairman, there's actually 2 issues there. And so was your motion to adopt both of those and moving forward?
I think so. Is that your request as well?
That would be my request. They kind of work together.
Look, I'm getting thumbs ups. Do you want to take a vote on it, committee?
Anybody
just the
want an
interim.
explanation?
Yeah.
If they don't, then we're good. I just didn't know if anybody wanted an explanation.
The resigned chairman thinks I should just declare it, so I shall. All right, then we have.
Without objection.
Without objection, we're moving on the bottom of the page there. It looks like we have 2 submissions related to the treasurer's office submitted by Senator Hicks. Senator Hicks?
Yeah, so the first one is right now the selection of fund managers is pretty cumbersome by the time you go through it and advertise, and then it's reviewed by the state treasurer's office, and then they make a recommendation. IFC reviews it, then it goes to SLIB, and then it comes back. The trouble is, in that process, we have people that take other jobs, and so it's very cumbersome, and ultimately, there's much more expertise if we can just manage a process and kind of get that with the IFC. So that's the idea behind that, Madam Chairman.
Any discussion about this from the committee?
Madam Chair,
Representative Hartman?
just, and Senator Hickson, I think this is the same as what was submitted by Deputy Treasurer Don on bottom of page 5. Same deal, and I think it's a good plan to move it to the Investment Funds Committee, but
Any comments from the treasurer's office? Obviously submitted by a member of the office, so you're in support.
Chairman. Yeah, we support this change in the way that the managers are selected. It mirrors what WRS does. They've had great success in onboarding their managers in a timely manner, and so I think that we want to have some of the tools in the toolbox that WRS does, and would appreciate your consideration.
Mr. Treasurer and Senator Hicks or anyone else, I mean, it doesn't sound like this would take a great deal of time, likely during an interim. Do you concur that a great deal of time would not be required?
I don't think so. I think there'll be some discussions on it, but this is a relatively, straightforward request as far as, I think it's understood what WRS does, and I talked to at least a couple of the SLID board members that are, understand the need for it and I think are on board. I know the governor did want to see if they could have a clawback provision in there. That's what the board has at WRS. For whatever reason, if the CIO and the director who has to approve those, if there's anything that isn't working, they can take control back of that. I think what I was looking at on that was be at the recommendation of the investment advisor that the SLID board has. And this year, we used to have basically the RBK was both the SLID board and our investment advisor. The governor wanted to split that up this year, so SLID would have their investment advisor, which might be RBK or might not be RBK. So, but I think with their investment advisor, then you would have some professionals actually in the process of recommendations and take it more out of the political realm.
All right, thank you. Senator Grew?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with the topic, and I think it's something that has a lot of merit to it. But I would just caution, I want to make sure that as we go delve into this, that we make sure that we keep the SLID board fully informed. We don't want to make sure that they are fully aware of what it is we're trying to make sure we get the input from them and they don't feel like they're getting blindsided because this is they're in that chain. And this is a chain we're talking about changing. I just want to make sure that they're fully aware of what we're doing and they're on board, so.
All right, thank you, Senator. Further discussion? Senator Hicks?
Nope, not on that one.
Representative?
Madam Chair, just Senator Grew, I think's point is well taken, and I think there's probably a lot of ways to think about how to keep them in that chain, final approval or whatever, but the actual, so good point, thank you.
All right, absent objection, we will add this to our letter from Management Council as part of our request for interim topics. Any questions from Mr. Fuller? All right, thank you. Senator Garou?
And I wanted to make sure that we got both those topics, because the one about make sure that the investment team and all, that we have both of those. Are we okay there?
Yeah, I was going to just explain that real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Madam Chairman, we have a very small internal investment staff, and many of those are very specialized into different sectors, equities, fixed income, hedge funds, and those type of arrangements. And what happens when we lose one of those, there's really nobody to fill that hole. And so what I want to do is look at it, let's maybe look at a couple of positions in there to provide some cost training so we have continuity in that investment strategy. And so when we lose one funds manager, we don't lose that and then have to come in and take 6 months to hire a new person and get somebody else. And so that's what the topic there is, looking at staffing needs to make sure that we have that continuity and cross-training within the investment staff.
Yeah.
Any further questions or clarification? Everyone's comfortable there? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, with that, it looks like we're moving on to Representative Obermuller's request. We covered, I think, all of those pieces for the investment team. Representative Obermuller, Wyoming Business Council.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Maybe it's a local issue, maybe it's broader than that. What this topic would be, it would be to look at the methodology that the Wyoming Business Council uses to select projects in our community. We have a large business that competes with another business that's within a mile of their facility, and Wyoming Business Council made grants to a direct competitor. And so this topic actually comes as a constituent asked too late for their project, but that they're concerned about other businesses that they have and how, and want us to question the methodology, look into it and see how that whole system works.
Discussion from the committee? Senator Hicks?
Madam Chairman, Business Council is under the Minerals Committee, and I guess it asked Representative Obermiller, was this recommended to go to that committee where they have oversight over the Business Council instead of this? It seems like they'd be more of an appropriate than cap then.
Fair enough.
And we can make that recommendation to move it over there, but that's, in my opinion, that's kind of where I think maybe it should go, but I'm asking you.
Representative?
Anybody else weigh in on where that topic should belong?
Management Council. Appropriations, maybe.
Okay, let me withdraw that topic then from this committee. Doesn't sound like it really belongs here.
All right, that topic has been withdrawn. We're going to Representative Storer, number 2.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't mean to throw cold water on the good work that this committee and the Treasurer's Office and the IFC have done. It occurred to me in our discussions about SF 70 when we last met that there were still some considerable opportunities that we could consider for aggregating our funds as we go to a true endowment model. That we haven't taken advantage of yet. And given that SF 70 unfortunately did not pass in the House with a 2/3 vote, maybe there's an opportunity to once again look at that and look at what we're doing there and see if we might be able to think through how we manage these funds and also provide a little bit more transparency perhaps for the public and legislators in understanding how we put different funds together and how we invest those. General idea.
Representative Obermiller?
Yeah, I think, I mean, there was general support of that bill. It just didn't make the 2/3, right? That's what happened to it. So I think we bring that back and try again.
Is that Senate File 70?
Yeah.
Is everyone recall Senate File 70
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and feel comfortable to bring that back as an interim? All right.
Yeah, and Madam Chairman, and to Representative Storrs, I think she's also looking at the bigger picture thing. And so we did this for a couple of years ago, looked at it, we worked for 2 years trying to, do the endowment model and all that stuff. But I think it just would be good edification for the committee and to have staff come back and go through
Dig out the old memos.
all the stuff and say, this is what we did, this is how we look, because I'm curious that she may have some ideas that we did look at. So I think it'd be good for all of us, is we tried that, failed in the Senate, takes a constitutional amendment, but I think it'd be good to walk through that process again. And
I think, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, Representative Harshman?
Madam Chair, and not to create a bunch more work, but I think the staff has already got all those old memos, and just keep the same old dates on them, pull them out. We have kind of a little history review through that. And how really, we started at 60% level in the reserve account, then we went to 90 and 125, and now we're going to this 5X, 7X, and even maybe 9X, because we just couldn't get to the endowment model. I mean, we just couldn't get there, and so we got what we think is the next best thing. But I think it's good to keep talking about that and thinking about it. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Representative Storer?
Just one addition, recognizing, that to do what we probably want to do will require some additional constitutional amendments. And I mean, the challenge is, you have to run a campaign, you have to run an educational campaign. And so making sure and thinking about, well, how do we do that? How do we do that as a state? And recognizing that if we do that well, we probably can get across the finish line. But and then in the long run, I think the state will really benefit. So just thinking a little bit outside of the box of how we can accomplish that, I think would be great.
And Madam Chairman, that was kind of the rationale to start with the ones that we did this year. Those are kind of more in that endowment model and maybe get the started because they're non-constitutional funds, they're statutory. We didn't have to amend the constitutions. But it was supposed to move that way and then show people that it works, right? So it's really the same topic.
Yeah, it
Representative
is.
Harshman?
Madam Chair, and I think, and Senator Hicks, and just that Senate File 70 never received a no vote in any Senate committee, Senate introduction, Senate on the floor, you had one excuse, came to the House committee, all unanimous votes, and failed in the House on the 2/3 vote. Nobody even, there was no amendments, and it was just an odd thing. And we assumed different people were gonna do a reconsideration vote. The bill left our body, tried to pull out the joint rule. The House wasn't having it, and so the thing died. And it was really a shame, because I think we were very close, and we just, I guess if we knew it was gonna happen like that, we'd have brought a delete the enacting clause, so we could at least talked about it. And never received a no vote until the final third vote in the House, so
Well,
unfortunate. So I think we can
we'll
bring
vote
that,
aye on it now.
bring it back and start it in the Senate again. And
Is there, so looking at the paragraph 2 there, is there any other specific language you want to include for our letter from Management Council for approval of this topic? Are you feeling that that's satisfactory? Or previous letters that were submitted on this topic? Any other clarifying language you want to add? All right, seeing none, absent objection, that will be part of our interim work likely. Committee, that's all that we have. It's been a pretty busy 19 days. Anything else you'd like to throw out?
Madam Chair,
This committee can throw something out. Representative
just on
Hartman?
failed bills, that 138, to try to get that Pool A.
Oh, Pool A, yeah.
5 minute, we've already done the work. If we want to keep trying to push it a little bit,
Yeah, I think we bring that back.
I mean,
That's the $5 million threshold to get into Pool A. Mr. Treasurer?
Yeah, a couple of things while you're all here, I'd like to share with you there. One is that I did talk to Ogden. We're going to get a generational fund in here through probably my lack of communication with Don. It didn't get in. Did talk to Ogden. I think he wanted to do that, but he's not here. So I'll probably just have him run that bill next session.
The bill, do you want us to take it up as an interim?
Yeah, you can, well, we can hand out what Ogden was contemplating supporting, but it was just the, the generational fund concept that we've been working with for a couple of years here. And one of the things too, when we talk about the investment team redundancy, we'll probably have an outside consultant come in and do much what we did a few years ago when our fund was $19 billion and now it's over $28 billion. So we want to get an update on that as far as if there's anything that we should be doing differently in our fund. I think the redundancy is going to be, will be helpful, but the build out on that, probably that'll occur from the consultant, is probably going to be multiple years. So I want to talk with you guys about doing some things that we might, we've talked about in this one, increasing the IFC's authority a little bit and the Treasurer's Office authority a little bit, looking at some way we can bridge election years with more authority in the IFC. So I want to discuss that with you. So we still have the, I guess, the treasurer's, I guess the oversight of the treasurer, but they have the continuity in between different election years. So it's, I know it's a touchy conversation from time to time, but I think that we may be able to come up with some solutions that everybody can support.
Response from the committee, discussion? All right, seeing none, thank you, Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you.
Any action requests from the committee? Representative Obermuller.
Well, this may be a good time to open it up for nominations for the House Chairman.
It could be. We'll get there. Thank you for the reminder. Any other interim topics? You've got some ideas. Senator Guru?
You know what, if we could, and I apologize too, because the office did bring this up to me, and I thought that someone else was going to bring it, but I think it's worthy of a discussion, and you know, think some of these others could be a little, you know, might not take too long, and this is something that we've been talking about a lot, and I'd like to continue the dialogue if it would be of the pleasure of the committee.
Further discussion? Let's take a vote. Who would like to take this topic up as an interim? Please raise your hand. All those opposed? All right, we're taking it up as an interim. Mr. Fuller, do you have this? Great. Any other ideas that you want to throw out? You sure? I know you've got them. You can't get mad later if you don't say it now.
Wrong committee.
All right. Well, I think we'll have a pretty light load for interim. Mr. Fuller?
Yep, Madam Chairman, I think the only question would be the order in which you would like these listed in the letter.
I think probably the way that they've been presented here is probably fair. I don't think it matters much in light of our light load.
One
Yeah,
other thing,
Representative?
Madam Chair, members, you know, I'm just looking at the monthly report, and there's a thing, I mean, we talked the 28 billion, and, I'm sorry, the 28
billion
and,
over, you know.
people say, oh, you got all this money, and I think there, you know, there needs to be kind of a, what does that mean? I mean, people think we've got all this money that, why shouldn't we distribute it back, or what? And I think we gotta kind of, it's our job to keep kind of getting the word out. What is that? You know, 6 billion of it is a state agency pool. And so, and that leads me to a further, I mean, I think back to the 4x10 days, now we're sitting at 16 billion in the you know, in the land fund and the permanent fund, and it's such an incredible protection against the income tax ever in this state. It's so incredible. But somehow I think this committee, we got to keep getting the word out on that. And then finally, but for that, so that's one part of this, but then I think we can do better with the state agency pool. And I don't know how, I don't, but I just think, I don't know what that's earning. And I understand the liquidity of it, but I just think get some smart people thinking about this, how we can maybe do it better.
Does that make everyone feel comfortable?
Get a better return, because there's a lot of money there that is, and I see the chief investment officer wants to opine on this.
Mr. Fleming, comments on the state agency pool?
Madam Chair, Representative Harshman, yes, he's absolutely right. It's a big pool of money, but when you split it across all of the various funds, it's a checking account of these entities. And so the problem with it is, you know, you can't lose money on it. And, you know, there's been just that issue that you're not able to put that into a longer term investment. Just like all of you, you wouldn't take your money that you use in your checking account and put it into a savings account. And so in the aggregate, it's quite large, but individually, it's much more problematic for each one of the entities. But the beauty of it is now with interest rates at 5 3/8, that is much higher earnings. So as these treasuries roll off in this latter portfolio, it's going to go up significantly. So that's the other side of it. But Representative Harshman is spot on, and we've kind of sliced and diced this 100 ways. And without, having some type of stopgap, it would be very difficult to do.
What's interesting that he said that you were spot on, but I really took that as a shut down. It's real interesting how he said that.
Well, Madam Chair, I just think.
He's spot on, but bad idea.
No, but I think the idea needs some work, and I just don't know how, and he's exactly right. I don't think any of us have solved that, but I think I don't know, there's a way to think about that maybe in a stopgap.
Would you like to have an educational
I just
piece
wanna-
on our investments?
I don't know. I just wanted to throw it out to the group that it's a significant piece, but I think, obviously he's correct with interest rates. It's currently, but I don't know. No, I don't think so. I'll back up on that because.
But it was spot on.
I just think
It was
it's an
spot on.
important thing, but I think we all got to get familiar with the 28 billion and really what it is and what it's doing. And so we can share that information with everybody around the state. Because frankly, there's some misinformation going on. And, that we should somehow divest that and give it back or whatever it is, or where, so I just think part of that is an important piece. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Representative Storer.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I guess I feel like that idea is not all that different than what I'm thinking about. And actually, maybe we could just start with a report, Patrick, that tells us like how much money is going into those accounts on an annual basis and in the aggregate, and how much are taking out of them. Because I'm not convinced there isn't perhaps a better way there. And even though I know there's a lot of ownership over those funds, whether there may be a way that would allow a little more flexibility in the investment. So.
All right. I mean, that actually sounds like a pretty robust topic that could lead to some good work on our end with oversight. Anything further on interim topics? All right, let's move for taking nominations for a House chairman.
I move Tom Walters.
Representative Overmuller has moved for Tom Walters, seconded by Representative Harshman. Does the Senate vote?
Yeah, the whole committee votes.
The whole committee votes. All those in favor of Representative Walters, say aye.
Whoa, they could take other nominations.
Well, you made it awkward.
It has to be a House member, it cannot be a Senate member, but they vote, but it has to be a House member.
All right, Mr. Chairman, congratulations. All right, any other business that we have? Mr. Fuller, any questions for us? All right, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Good job, thanks.